My favorite part of A Few Good Men is when Demi Moore gets mad at Viggo Mortensen and says, "Suck my dick." That's G.I. Jane, just mixing up the two movies.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Yeah, boy!
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
The Flava Flav, Jeremy.
That was spontaneous.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Yeah! Midway through, I wanted to bail on that. I was trying to do a Little John, and no.
I wanted to go ahead and do all of our where you can contact us stuff up top.
Yeah.
Because I know that some of you probably just like, oh, okay, that's the end of the episode. Click. But I just wanted to mention that you can go to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook, Cinemasins Twitter, Music Video Sins Twitter. We have a Reddit. We have a Discord. You can go to a variety of places and get a link to the Discord. Usually, if you go to Facebook, I can give you a link on the private messages. And then we also have a P.O. box that we established. It's you can address it to Cinemasins or Chris or Jeremy or Barrett. And it's P.O. Box 92466. Nashville, Tennessee 37209.
You can address it to Peter if you want to, as long as the P.O. box is correct.
Right. Now, I will be confused when I look at it, but I will wonder if I'm opening the right mail. But, I just figured to throw that out there as well. So yeah, the P.O. Box 92466, Nashville, Tennessee 37209. I'm not going to go through the normal spiel at the end of the podcast. So that's where you can contact us about this episode.
That's right.
Which we are going to get into now. A bunch of you are angry about something, I can tell.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
I'm as mad as hell!
You've never seen me very upset.
Lord Jesus! Lord Jesus!
Are you angry?
I got to pull up my notes and remember if I'm angry.
Are you angry, Chris?
Oh, I'm a little angry. I'll tell you what I'm angry about. So in the past week, probably 1 week, 7 days, I have seen a car next to me and a passenger or driver just simply throw their cup of whatever they're drinking out onto the street.
The cup itself or the contents of the cup?
The cup itself.
The fuck? In 2019?
I don't understand. Look, I'm not one of those guys going around, you can't litter, man. I'm not like that. I'm not, you don't see a tear shedding because I see all the trash. But the thing that makes me angry is why. I want to know why. Yeah. Like, you can't keep that in your car until you get home?
It's a car. You have spaces for this.
You can't just you have spaces for this. And I don't understand why you wouldn't just wait till you get to your destination. One person that I saw do this, I actually drove to where my destination was, and they were close by to and I saw them where they went. And I was like, oh, you couldn't have just thrown the cup out there? There's trash everywhere there.
Wow.
Like, why they went to some bar or something? I was like, you can't throw that out?
That's crazy.
Why would you do that unless you're just being an asshole on purpose?
Wow. I don't see shocking overt acts of littering these days. So that's wild that twice in 1 week you encountered
I have seen it twice where people just don't need that anymore and just throws it out onto the sidewalk. Look, this isn't causing the climate crisis, right? This right here isn't. It's easily just whatever. But my main thing is why? Why do you do that? That's what irritates me in driving in general is not really people doing things that are illegal, but things that are Why? Why would you do that? There's no advantage to doing this except for being an asshole. That's all it is. And so I see this all the time. But yeah, it's one of those things you don't like. You're not looking at the other car. You just all of a sudden hear a noise, and you just see the remains of a cup just rolling on the street.
I would be shocked by that.
Yeah,
I'm so shocked that like you guys watch Mad Men, right?
Yeah.
There was one episode.
I know what you're about to talk
where
about.
Don takes the whole family. It's when everybody's still together.
Yeah.
He takes the whole family to a park and he's drinking beer and he's knocking them back and it's about time to go and he crushes up the beer can and just chucks it into the park.
Well, yeah, and
I was like, what the fuck?
And they all get up and go to the car and leave all their shit there.
Yeah. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's wild. That's wild that in this day and age that people are still doing that.
Yeah. I just it more makes me mad because I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Like you just, for me, it's like it's easy. You have a cup, you just put it in the cup holder, and then you
throw it away
when you get home or wherever you go. Yeah. It's easy. It's really easy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a good rant. That's something worth ranting about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fuck.
All right.
I have a happy rant.
A happy rant.
Okay.
I almost did this a few weeks ago, but I've become a bit of a bottled water connoisseur.
Really?
What? Really?
And I started out very, very simple. I did because when I started out about a year ago drinking bottled water on the regular, my world was Dasani and Aquafina.
This is regular water, not flavored water, just straight
not flavored water, just bottled water.
Yeah.
And so I preferred Dasani to Aquafina. I didn't explore water. I just Dasani is doing fine for me. Then accidentally, I found myself Dasani-less. And the only available bottled water to me was this brand called Icelandic, where the bottle at the top of the bottle actually looks like a mountain. It's all crinkled and looks like that water is delicious. It's from a spring in Iceland. Then I started looking at water sources, and I found that spring water tastes better to me than other water or tap water that has been finagled.
Mm-hmm.
As I've probably tried 16, 17 different bottled waters in the last 6 months. And I've settled on one that is the best.
And this is not sponsored. This is just
this is not sponsored.
Your opinion, right?
I'll take your money if you want to send it to me, because I know you got plenty of it. We'll get into that in a minute. But it's called Just Water, all caps JUST Water. The packaging, it basically is a paper bottle. It's a boxed.
Nice.
It's a boxed water.
Okay, so it's not
bright blue, and the bottle has all the important ecological information printed on it. The bottle's made from 50% paper, 28% plants, 5% aluminum foil, something. It's all recyclable. The cap is made from fucking sugarcane, and it comes. It's sourced from a spring a natural spring. And I got to a point where every time I would crumple up a Dasani bottle and throw it in the trash, I would picture that Texas-sized floating plastic island out in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
And again, I can't single-handedly end global warming, but I can feel better about my lifestyle. And so I only even tried this thing because I knew it was a plant-based paper. I even think I said on a podcast, maybe just in casual conversation a couple years ago, they have boxed wine. Why can't I ever get boxed water? I'm pretty sure I said this out loud. And now they have it. It's good. Now, they do sell 2 varieties that have a hint of fruit flavor. I can't taste it. It tastes the same as the other. They got like an orange and a lemon. Jaden Smith and his father Will are the major investors in this company.
Really?
That's why I said I know they have plenty of money. And if you want to make jokes about Jaden Smith's tweets like I do, just remember when he went out at age whatever the fuck, 22, to decide to invest in a company, this is what he chose. And I think he gets kudos for that. He and his father went and toured the facility and learned everything before they jumped in. And I love it. It tastes really, really good. And every time I crumple it up and throw it away, I feel a little better about myself.
Nice.
I even have tried 2 other waters since then just for flavor to see if I might like them more. And I keep going back to Just Water.
Is the packaging itself not recyclable?
You mean on a regular bottled water?
On Just Water?
No, it is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
It's that's why they make the bottle out of paper and plant.
So you would throw it in your paper recycling
yes.
then? Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
If you were to recycle.
Yes, the township I live in doesn't have recycling.
Honestly, you should do what I do, and that is to collect bags full of bottles until it's untenable to live around, and then take it to. There's a place that I go to. It's at Whites Creek High School.
Yeah, the local recycling place nearest me. We found out a few months ago they were just taking everything to a landfill.
Awesome.
So I didn't feel so good about recycling anymore. Because it's gotten so expensive to recycle some types and to sort some types of materials.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I don't have a recycling option available to me currently.
But at least you're not throwing more plastic into the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the water tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get into bottled water, though? Or like
Gotta say, this was surprising to me that he was into bottled water.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have been, for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, trying to get healthier, trying to improve my life in multiple ways. The therapy is part of it, my mental health. I quit smoking, and trying to lose weight. I started working out, trying to cut carbs and eat better. So the bottled water was just one of many areas I'm trying to get better. And so I get up in the morning. The first thing I do is grab a bottle of water, and as I go through my morning routines, I work on that bottle of water. And then I have another one in the afternoon. And if I can, I get a third one in at night. But I think you're supposed to have like 8 bottles of water a day.
Yeah.
I'm not getting anywhere close to that. But yeah,
right.
I'm a bottled water guy. And I've graduated from the Aquafina and Dasani, owned by Coke and Pepsi, respectively, or irrespectively. And I'm now a connoisseur.
You can taste the difference.
I'm a sommelier of water. I can.
I wonder, and I'm not going to subject you to it, but I wonder if you could tell the difference. Like you could name your Just Water in a blind taste test.
No, it's not that at all. In fact, it's probably a lot more subtle difference in taste, but every single bottle of water has something on the side of it that says, minerals added for flavor or taste or what have you. And I think if you sit down with 3 or 4 different brands of water and drink from each of them, you will be able to taste a difference, even if you can't go, oh, that's definitely Oak Park or whatever the fuck.
Oak Park. Moulin Spring.
Moulin Spring.
Would be Deer Park.
Deer Park.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I like that water. It tastes really good. I'm really happy about it. I've been telling people about it. Now I'm telling you about it. And it's better for the environment. So there you go.
Maybe Big Willie is listening to this podcast.
Yeah,
he wants
I'm
to...
sure he has the free time to do that.
I drink my water. I got the fridge with the filter and all that and everything, and so I drink it that way. And
so you're not even throwing anything away that way.
Not throwing anything away. Even if I did, if I had I bought bottled water before, but yeah, I do that thing like I just said, where I just I have like 6 or 7 bags full of freaking bottles, and then all right, it's time to go. Seriously,
there's no place to step on my floor.
Yeah, it's like the closet is like just filled with these bags.
Oh Jesus!
But
good happy rant. You brought some joy and
some
frivolity.
positivity.
Yeah.
I'm going to immediately submarine that.
Excellent.
So Saturday Night Live is an obvious punching bag, right?
Yep.
In terms of comedy
for a long time,
almost since its inception, essentially. In the off season, we had all the casting controversy with the racist stuff that came up online, and so it finally premiered on Saturday, and I was vaguely excited for it for some reason. I traditionally like Saturday Night Live more than your average person. Even on the off skits, usually there's something that'll make me giggle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes back on Saturday. Weirdly, I know why. It's because to promote the Zombieland 2, but Woody Harrelson was the host. And like, if you're trying to tap into the zeitgeist and the kids and stuff like that, you don't really want to go with Woody Harrelson as your opening day starter.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't good. He wasn't good in the monologue or that kind of thing. The cold open, of course, was a Trump thing that was wildly unfunny.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, this rant is not about Woody Harrelson, by the way, but later on he comes back. They do a town hall with all the Democratic candidates, and he plays Joe Biden, and he's actually really good in that.
Oh, yeah?
Have you seen any of this?
I haven't.
But the episode, at best, was extremely uneven, and at worst, was pretty much unfunny. But there's a saving grace. Young Billie Eilish was the musical guest.
Mm.
And I mentioned that I'd like to see her perform live because it's so very quiet and her delivery and stuff.
Let me interject. SiriusXM has been playing an hour-long block of her singing live.
Yes,
and it's
the thing that you were
at the
talking
Troubadour.
about, right?
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
it is awesome.
Yeah.
There's a way that she can affect it live that it works, at least from what I saw on this episode.
Yeah.
So she comes on, the opening song, they always do 2 songs. The first one is Bad Guy, her big hit. And it opens up on her band, which is basically her brother on bass and then the drummer over there. And then it cuts to this ISO shot of Billy in a square room. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool perspective. Traditionally, SNL performances have been just on the stage and everybody just kind of like moving around and it's just a static set. Kanye West actually famously changed this when he did like this really huge production when he did My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy performances. And it was gorgeous. And so they have this ISO shot and it's really cool. And then like as the song progresses, she starts walking on the right-hand wall. And then as the song progresses, she kind of morphs into walking upside down. And then she's moving over to the left one and all that stuff. And yes, this has been done before. In videos to where there's obviously there's a static camera on the bottom of the cube and it rotates like a cement mixer essentially, just very slowly and choreographed. But, it's still a cool effect and you want that ISO shot to see how they do it. In the middle of the song, camera pans out to show the box moving from the outside perspective. And then it goes back to the static shot. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you ruined the entire illusion. I know it's an illusion. I know how it works. But, like, why would you do that? And it's maybe 2-3 seconds or something like that. And I can't, for the life of me, wrap my head around whether this was intentional or whether this was accidental. And I'm not sure which is worse.
How long did it stay on the wide shot?
About 2 or 3 seconds. But long enough to completely disrupt any illusions that you have.
But it seems plausible it could have been an accident.
It could be, in which case then that's a negligent thing. It is live television, but also you've had all this time in the off season to plan this. It's what annoyed me about the skits not being very good because you had all this time to work on this and refine it. But if it were intentional, that's really egregious. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
If it's accidental, get a better cameraman.
See, I could see a technical director wanting to show off the accomplishment and that leading to the wide shot of I want to beat my chest. I want everybody at home to know exactly how hard this was.
Yeah. Now, they did do it at the end. They then panned out
that
the ISO
makes
shot.
more sense.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And then she did that little coda at the end of it where it's like the weird boom.
Yeah.
Boom. But yeah, that one shot has been bothering me since Saturday night. Yeah. Whether it was accidental or intentional. Like, do your fucking job, man. Like, make this work visually. The rest of it was really, really good.
Well,
she's a great performer.
Obviously, it wouldn't be the cameraman that would be at fault there. It would be your director.
Right. He's cutting to that shot.
Yeah, that's cutting that shot and telling his cameraman, all right, I need you to do this. Or it tells him to do that, but he accidentally switches over while he's doing it.
Yeah.
Those things are going to happen.
Well,
sometimes.
there's no reason to cut to anything besides maybe cutting to like the bassist or something like that. But you've got that beautiful ISO shot that you've obviously worked very hard on. Keep it fucking on that shot for the duration of the performance.
That Troubadour concert, when she does Bury a Friend, at the end, when she's doing that, when we all fall asleep, she goes, where do we go? And it's awesome because there's just this pure, like, there's something between her and her audience right in that moment because they're singing along with her. When we all fall asleep, where do we? And it was so celebratory. God, you need to listen to that
and
concert.
I do.
She says something in the middle of it where she's like I'm having a hard time remembering that I'm actually doing a show here. Like everybody's all around where it's like I'm with my friends and everything. Of course, everybody's like, yeah.
Is it on Alt Nation?
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to listen to that more.
You can probably get it on demand as well.
Okay.
I'm assuming.
That's true. I always stream it live, so I never really remember that you can just go to something.
Oh, it's good though.
Yeah.
Good rant though.
I'm telling you.
SNL with its bad foot forward. Although you can't get him a stone because she was just on. Wasn't she just on last year?
She was on last year,
and then I don't think White Urkel is a bigger draw. Zuckerberg, I can't think of his name.
Eisenberg.
I don't know why I called him White Urkel.
Okay.
I don't think Eisenberg is the kind of name that's going to draw to SNL.
Oh my God! What's funny is that next week, or the week prior, or the episode prior to this posting, is your girl that I think you're going to talk about, Phoebe Waller.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the host. It's like, oh, cool. She's got a good show and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The musical guest is Taylor Swift. You're going to get buried. If you're not like Alec Baldwin or something like that, you're going to get buried by Taylor Swift in the actual like headlines for this show.
Well, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And a lot of times they try to get that, they strike the iron while it's hot, when they get these actors and everything, and they're not exactly prepared to do that, although she's very talented, so I'd like to see what
Doesn't she also write that show?
She does. She's the creator of that show and writes it. Yeah.
She's probably savvy.
Well, I hope they find a way to use Taylor in comedic ways, because she's funny.
Obviously, it's. I would never blame the host for any Saturday Night Live failing, except for some rare occasions.
Yeah.
But like the one with Aquafina that was on last year, while Aquafina was like hot and everything, and I guess she still is in some way, but she was like in everything at that one point. And that Saturday Night Live she was on,
it wasn't good?
Dreadful.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, and it was sad because she came out and said, I'm the first Asian American to be, or Asian American woman or something like that to be on this show. And I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And then the show sucked.
Yeah. See, you guys need to come into my world and just wait till the next day. Don't watch that shit live anymore.
I know.
The internet will tell you if it was funny episode or not, and then half a dozen blogs will just put all the videos here in the order of their funniness.
That's true.
Like I watched the Apple Orchard commercial from that SNL episode.
Oh, the Adam Sandler?
No,
this was it was from that most recent episode.
It was like a fake apple orchard where you could come and pick your own apples.
Oh, okay.
I love the line. Is Maya Rudolph still on that show?
Well, she was in this episode.
Oh,
she guessed
but she says you pay $40 to take home $10 worth of apples. But
that was funny.
A website I like had said this skit was funny, so I watched. I didn't think it was all that funny, but I watched it. And I didn't waste an hour and a half of my life.
I agree. Now, this is usually, my exciting life on Saturdays. Like, I'm usually winding down and going to sleep. So that it'll give me a giggle at some points.
Well, okay.
As I'm kind of slowly sucking to the void.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
The Adam Sandler thing I was thinking of, this is the reason I don't even think it was an apple orchard, but it was a whole, it was a play on this actual ad, I believe. But people signed up for this thing that was like a vacation, and everything that he would say was like, this is not a substitute for your alcoholism, or stuff like that. Stuff like that.
That was last year.
It was last year. It was like, it might have been the season finale last year.
That was funny.
Yeah, stuff like that. He was really funny. Okay, we're going into recommends and warns right off the bat.
Yeah,
baby.
Totes Amazeballs.
They're great.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
Since we were just talking about Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I will talk about Fleabag.
Yeah, where do you find that thing?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay, all right.
So
I just
easily
read
accessible.
that the CEO of Netflix says that's the one show he regrets not having.
Really?
Of all the TV that Netflix doesn't have, that's the one he's jealous of.
Yeah, it is. She is great in this. She obviously is the creator and writer. I think the only writer on the show.
Really?
Of course, it is 6 episodes per season. There's 2 seasons. She just won the Emmy for, I believe, acting and writing on this show. Because I think there's a picture of her. I never watched the Emmys, so I don't know. But I think I see a picture of her holding 2 Emmys. The first time I ever saw her was on Broadchurch. She was in season 2 of Broadchurch, and I was like, oh, she's awesome, whatever.
Is she British?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's about this woman who is trying to find her way in life and everything, and she's like really like crazy almost in a way, like just has all these evil thoughts or these like deliciously naughty thoughts all the time and everything. I believe it's the very first episode. She's like having sex with this guy, and she's like, "You ever having sex?" She's like, talks to the camera a lot, and she looks at the camera a lot in the show, and her looks are priceless. A lot of times, like a lot of the enjoyment of the show sometimes is when somebody says something crazy, and she's like taking it in, and she gives that little, and everything. But she's having sex at the very beginning. So you ever having sex, and then you notice that they're getting ever closer to your asshole. and then she allows the guy to do it. And then at the end, and it's like, and then, it's no fun and everything. But then at the very end of it, you're like, and because apparently this guy is very hung, very massive. And she's like, at the very end of it, you're just like, do I just have a huge asshole? And, so yeah, she runs this cafe that's not doing very well. We know that a best friend of hers has recently died because she walked out into traffic and did something stupid like that. We don't know why right off the bat, but that's a sort of a thread that they pull throughout the first season. And she's got a sister who's very like uppity and very like proper and everything, but she has that little bit of a light side to her too, surprising at times. But all the characters are pretty well drawn, but she is the main draw of this. She's the main draw of this, and she's very funny and very engaging, and you can watch these 2 seasons in blink essentially. You can watch it in 6 hours. I think you can watch both seasons in 6 hours.
Are they like 22, 30 minutes
22
episodes?
to 30 minute episodes and everything. But yeah, it's basically her just trying to go. She keeps going relationship to relationship to relationship. You get the sense that she's really appealing to the audience, but like in the real world, like everybody's like reacting to her like, I don't know what to make of her and everything. So it can be hilarious, and then it can also be a little bit sad because there is some loneliness there. For all this, and she's also racked with guilt about her friend dying and everything. So, but ultimately, it's just it's funny. I think pretty much all the episodes stand alone. They're not. There are some running threads, but that there's one episode where she and her sister go to a place where you're supposed to be all quiet the entire time. Of course, she has no chance of staying quiet the entire time. But meanwhile, next door, there's some other retreat for men who are trying to learn how to treat women. And they're getting all these different, they're getting their tendencies out. So you hear like in the middle of the silence, you'll hear people going, "Slut!" "Bitch!" And she, of course, goes and investigates and everything. So it's one of those type of shows. I didn't expect much from the show, even though it had won Emmys, and I had never heard of it really before until this.
Yeah, me neither.
Until this Emmy run, and I was like, I'll take a look at that, and I'm very much enjoying it. I'm
really?
3 episodes away from the season 2 being done. So.
I'm telling you,
just started it this weekend.
You sold me. Because, I've heard nothing but good things, but I didn't know the first thing about it. It's like when I was describing Russian Doll, and you were like, I heard good things, but, nothing about the actual content.
Yeah. What is the Fleabag then? Is it the cafe?
That's her. I think that's her character name.
Really?
Yeah, because, and I'm not sure they ever say that out loud. It might be one of those things where they actually never say the name, but yeah, her name is Fleabag.
Interesting. I was picturing that the show took place in like a really, really grimy, dirty apartment.
I mean, she is. I would assume that there is some sort of parallel to a Fleabag in the way she lives and everything. It's a really derogatory way of thinking of someone, I believe, but I mean. No, she's very appealing and everything. Again, it's one of those weird things, though, where you think because she's so relatable to us to the audience, because she keeps talking to us and winking at us and all that. A lot of the stuff is so subliminal too. Like she'll say stuff in the middle of a sentence to you. And the way she changes her demeanor and then comes right back into where the stream of consciousness is amazing.
Nice.
Like I sit there and go, God, like to get that nailed down has got to be amazing. Like it's got to be one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I would
Nice.
recommend this highly.
Nice.
Well, Chris, with his Apollo 11 recommend a week or two ago, sent me off looking for historical documentaries, and I just watched They Shall Not Grow Old.
I've heard of this.
This is the World War I Peter Jackson painstakingly
that's right.
restored and colorized. This World War I documentary footage. Very Band of Brothers in presentation, cutting between interviews of real people. And I'm not certain that they shot those interviews in 2018 or whatever. I think a lot of the interview footage is archival as well. But he spent a long ass time. This was a passion project for him, and it's gorgeous. Now, I hate to say that because you're looking at war, and there's a whole section there on no man's land.
Oh, yeah.
From the Wonder Woman movie, because that was a real thing, and in real life, Wonder Woman didn't show up. I don't know if you knew that.
Wow.
But they, neither side was willing to move because there was nothing to hide behind, and you could hear the wailing of wounded soldiers, but no medic could go get them. And
Wow.
it dives into how nasty the trenches got.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
And the different kinds of trenches that they built. There's a couple of aerial shots of the trenches, and you never think, at least not when you're watching Band of Brothers or that kind of thing, you never think about the intentional design of the trenches. But they had parallel trenches, and then they had inner trenches that could get you between each trench. Right. But the trenches also had to go in this zigzaggy Z kind of pattern. I was riveted. I feel like I learned a lot. It was gorgeous to look at. I feel like, again, most of our American upbringing, you learn more about World War II than we ever do World War I. And the interviews range from heartbreaking to hilarious. There's this one guy telling a story about two guys who fell into basically a rat-infested latrine pit, and the old man's like, nobody wanted to be around them anymore that day. And I loved it. I will probably watch it again very soon.
This is you may have touched on this, but this was existing footage that they colorized, right? And then they read the lips of people and put voices over it.
You
everything.
can hear a lot of background noise
because
in the
it's
footage.
silent film that they're restoring, and then and everything. That No Man's Land stuff, I remember listening to a podcast, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, that talked about all this too. And the stuff that you just described about how gross everything was something that a lot of people would write in their diaries about and everything. And just like, it's just an awful, awful situation all around because, there's no headway but you got to be there, and you got to deal with all this, and there's no solutions for all the problems, so.
This is HBO?
Oh, shit.
I think it's
HBO.
HBO.
It is HBO.
Because I happened upon the very end of this, actually.
Okay.
Just accidentally. And you're right. Like, immediately what caught me was the visuals. Like, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Whatever he did. This is Peter Jackson is what you said?
Yeah, and I don't think he just colorized it. I think he, upgraded. He made it, HD-ish in his restoration. Yeah. And I found it hard to look away, even though several times I wanted to because it was uncomfortable.
Yeah. I've got a very Jeremy story, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited about this.
This was, let's see, Friday night, not doing anything. Shocking.
Yeah.
In fact, we got home from a birthday party, and it's fairly late, but I'm going to turn my brain off. It's about 9:30 or so. I happen upon a movie, I forget what channel it's on, called The Search Party.
Okay.
2014.
T.J. Miller.
T.J. Miller, yeah. So T.J. Miller's on my screen, the first scene. Thomas Middleditch is on the screen in the next scene. Adam Pally, who's from a show called Happy Endings, Bill Lawrence show that I really liked. And I was like, this is the trio of friends that make up this movie. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. 2014 should be all right. And so I start watching it. You catch it right at the beginning. And the beginning is T.J. Miller submarining Thomas Middleditch's wedding for reasons unknown that are never explained in the movie. And so he is a prototypical T.J. Miller, can't get out of his own way, fuck up. He's basically fucking Silicon Valley T.J. Miller, where he's the irascible asshole that somehow his friends stick with, and he keeps getting rewarded by being a fuck up. Only this time, like, he's super committed to his friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, it's fine. And then all of a sudden, like, Allison Brie shows up, and Lance Reddick shows up as his boss. And then Shannon Woodward, who I think was on Westworld, she's the jilted bride. And so it's all this, like, okay, now they're all chummy and everything. They're thinking about moving out of the apartment that they all share. And suddenly Thomas Middleditch goes disappearing. Turns out he was carjacked in Mexico. He was going to see his ex at their honeymoon location to make things right. He was carjacked, stripped naked, and stolen everything from. Okay?
Okay.
And they show a lot of Thomas Middleditch completely naked in this movie.
Nice. Dong?
And dong and all.
Wow.
God bless him. He's going for it.
You know, he just gave an interview 3 or 4 days ago where he credited the swinger lifestyle for saving his marriage.
Okay.
He and his wife are swingers. He's open about it.
Oh, good
He
for
says
him.
you don't call it swingers anymore. You call it being part of the lifestyle. It's fascinating. I can't wait till you do show prep and you look up this interview.
Oh, it's going to be fun. Yeah. So then they go down to look for him, and it's every cliche pratfall road trip type of thing that you could ever imagine. Kristen Ritter shows up. Jason Mantzoukas shows up. Fucking Rosa Salazar from Alita Battle Angel is in this as T.J. Miller's love interest. All the ingredients. Yeah. All the ingredients to something being at least funny. Fucking Garfunkel and Oates shows up as the wedding band. Ricky Lindholm and
both
Kate
of them
McCucci.
show up. Okay.
Yes. This movie is horrible. It's horrible. J.D. Smoove is in this too.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible. It's the laziest comedy that I think I've ever seen. I don't know how they got this amount of talent and just completely wasted it.
A lot of times, these movies, these comedy movies that have everybody in it, it's because they're a bunch of buddies.
Yes.
And that's why the movie gets
They're all
made.
doing a favor for somebody they like.
Exactly. That's why, when I brought up that movie Hell Baby 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
that was something that I think everybody was just doing because everybody liked each other and, hey, let's do this together, and who gives a fuck if it's good or not. We just enjoy doing this type of stuff or whatever. And so, yeah, a movie like this is exactly like that. I guarantee you there's writers on this that were writers on some show or whatever, and they've connected everybody, and I'll do anything that guy asks. That guy's great.
Oh my God. It was so disappointing. It was so lazy. I mean, there's a couple of giggles in here. Thomas Middleditch, like I said, goes for it at least. I think he knows he's in a shitty movie. But, like, there's a time where, like, he gets a pair of pants and then he loses it again. And so his dick is all hanging out and everything, and jumps in the back of a truck in Mexico. And, of course, it's full of cocaine. And so when they pull the thing off, he's covered, including his dick, in cocaine and powder. And he's, like, sniffing himself and, like, licking himself and stuff like that, getting all twitchy. That's kind of funny. But that's the only part. There is a funny little punctuation song with Garfunkel and Oates, too. But overall, I can't believe this movie wasn't at least a little funny. And yet, I kept watching it all the way to the fucking end.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've had that experience, or very rarely have I had that experience, but it happens to you all the time.
It does.
And so I was just like, fuck it. I'm going to go ahead and just finish this out. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now you got a great big warn for the podcast.
I cannot warn this movie enough.
What's funny is that I have passed it frequently on the dial, and I know T.J. Miller's in it, and I know it was made a couple years ago, and I almost always think about stopping on it, but I never have.
You made the right decision.
Yeah.
Warren, you got one?
I got another recommend. This is a movie we've talked about before on the podcast, but it was time for the movie club thing again for this group of friends that every month we go and we watch movies together.
I think it's so cool that you do that.
Yeah. It's really this one guy who's just recently had a kid, and he's like, man, I got to have one day.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, where we watch movies and we discuss them. It was my turn to pick this past week that we did it. And I didn't know it was my turn to pick until the day of. I was like, oh shit, I emailed everybody. I was like, is it my turn? And they're like, yeah. And so I was like, in this time, why don't we do some political movies? Mm-hmm. And I gave them a choice. I picked out 4 movies, and I gave them another 3 that we could have streamed maybe. But we ended up watching The Conversation, and we watched All the President's Men.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. So I'm going to recommend The Conversation. I would also recommend All the President's Men. Both of those movies are as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And both of these movies have audio at the center of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things in The Conversation. It came out the year Nixon resigned.
Wow.
And the reason why he resigned was because of tapes like this and everything. So it was considered, I guess, I don't know if it was considered prescient or just considered perfect for its time that it came out, because, it sort of lifted the veil on all of this kind of surveillance that people could do. Mm-hmm. And The Conversation, Francis Ford Coppola made 2 movies in 1974. One was Godfather Part 2.
Yep.
And the other was The Conversation. Both of them
pretty
were
fucking good year.
Absolutely amazing movies. Gene Hackman is at the center of this, and his character is so heartbreaking to watch. Mm-hmm. His really only like thing that really interests him is being able to come up with the best way to record a conversation. That's his only way of life. And yet he's a very private person. Someone who, if the same thing were to happen to him, he would be livid about it, and rightfully so. Mm-hmm. It does bring up questions about what do we have the right to hear and everything. It starts off with this conversation. I believe it's in San Francisco. They're in Union Square, and Laverne and Shirley's Cindy Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Is I believe it's Frederick Forrest that she's talking to, and they're both having this conversation. They have 3 points of angling their microphones. One is a guy in the crowd following them. Another guy has got like a little thing pointed out of a window, and I believe they have one other microphone set up somewhere. And basically, at first, this conversation it's 3 different little tapes that he's working with, and some of this conversation is hard to hear. You can't hear everything. You don't know what's going on in it. There's some very important things that are lost, but because he's such an expert, he's able to scrub it and be able to get it down to perfect audio and everything. It's scary. But meanwhile, this conversation, he's a little bit haunted by something he did for a political figure in his past. It was 1968 something, and he knows that people died because of what tape he handed over. Ooh. And so now, when any kind of discussion occurs where if he turns this in and the person thinks of it the wrong way, and they're just the right type or the wrong type of person, he's worried that these 2 people having their conversation they're going to die at the hands of this guy that he's going to hand the tape over to. Gene Hackman is in it. I guess it's somewhat spoilery, although it's a 45-year-old movie, but Robert Duvall plays the guy who has hired him, and Harrison Ford is the guy directly beneath Robert Duvall.
Shit, I forgot that.
In this, yeah. And there's a moment where all 3 of them are in the frame, and you're like, God, look at all this star power. Yeah.
Awesome. What the is that Harrison Ford's first movie?
No. He had done a few others other than this. I believe American Graffiti came out the year before.
Oh, I got you.
American Graffiti, I think, was 73. But yeah,
it's amazing.
The conversation that is taking place. Obviously, Hackman doesn't know exactly what this conversation is about. he just worries that by the end of it, I mean, he does get everything by the end of it. He's just worried that whatever it is they're talking about is damning enough that this guy is going to kill them. And so that's where he gets personally involved into this case and everything. But meanwhile, there are all sorts of little side things that happen. He goes to a convention where they're selling the latest tech, and there's a rival there who really wants to get together with him and make a lot of money, man, because if we get together, we're the best. And his name, I don't think uncoincidentally, is Moran, or Moran.
Huh.
And there's a point where they go to a party. At the convention, he like just gives him a pen, like, "Hey, have a pen."
Yeah.
Puts it in his little shirt pocket or whatever. And they go to this party back at Hackman's place, and it's this place where he works is the most desolate, empty. It's a huge space. He doesn't need this much space for what he does. It's just a bunch of columns and then his workspace.
Huh.
And there's a point where one of the women that works with the rival is talking to him, and she's like, "Come on, open up, say something." And he says, "Man, it's one of the most devastating dialogue." I was actually going to bring this up 3 or 4 weeks ago when we did Heart of the Movie, I think. It was there's a scene where she says, "Open up to me," and he goes, "What if you were dating a guy and you didn't know that he loved you, but he loves you, but you never were around, and he was never around, and he never opened up or anything. Would you stay with that person?" And it's a little bit longer than that, but that's the basic gist. And she goes, "Well, if I didn't know that he loved me, why would I stay around?" There's even a part early on where he's like with Terry Garr, and Terry Garr is basically like happy to see him. He comes by and he doesn't open up. He's like doing his paranoid self, and he's not saying anything. And finally she's like, "You don't have to come back if you don't want to." And you just see the loneliness that he has and everything. So when he's talking to this girl and saying this thing about this, he says, "How would I know if he loved me? Why would I stay around?" And so it's just a devastating character study, in addition to being just an absolutely phenomenal mystery thriller film. On top of that, I don't think the conversation still to this day gets enough credit or accolades. It just always seems to be one of those great movies that people get around to that. It go and watch The Conversation.
Yeah,
this movie is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
awesome.
Maybe I caught this about a couple of years ago or so. Maybe the most in-depth performance that I've seen Gene Hackman do, because Gene Hackman has a Gene Hackman type of thing, even back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Very authoritative, very, that kind of thing.
Right.
This is much more vulnerable than I think he's played since then, at least.
It's devastating to watch, especially when you know of all the other Hackman performances you've ever seen, because it's exactly what you're talking about. He's always, they're fueling their missiles, all that type of thing.
He says that in every movie.
Yeah, he says that in every movie.
He does.
And he's always like that. But in this one, he's very introspective.
Yeah.
And paranoid and everything. Has one of the best endings ever.
Oh my God, that ending is amazing.
Yeah. What's amazing is I've said a lot about this movie, and I have not said everything about
Correct.
this movie.
Correct. Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
This was Coppola, right?
Yeah.
So did you ever see, this is not my recommend, but did you ever see the Spielberg documentary on HBO?
Yes.
I caught a little bit of that at lunch a couple of days ago, and it's amazing how tight all those guys were. De Palma and Spielberg and Lucas and Coppola. They weren't just like contemporaries. They would fucking hang. There's all that have you seen this? There's all this footage of them just hanging out, shooting pool and fucking drinking and stuff like that. Just, hanging out with each other. I don't think you would see that. I mean, like you said in the previous thing, they're buddies out in Hollywood, but legendary directors and filmmakers and stuff like that, you don't hear about that happening today.
Yeah, I think Lucas worked with Coppola for a while. That's sort of how they had a friendship. And if you look at those movies that Lucas made, even Star Wars, but even before Star Wars, and Lucas made American Graffiti and THX 1138. They share stars a lot of times. Duvall's in THX 1138. Of course, Duvall's in all the movies that Coppola makes in the 70s. Harrison Ford is back and forth between these because Harrison Ford shows up not only in Conversation but in Apocalypse Now for just a brief period of time. Just
God damn, I forgot all these Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and George Lucas's wife at the time, I believe her name's Marcia Lucas, was an editor. And I think it was Easy Riders Raging Bulls just talked about how what a horrible, like, I don't know if it was a horrible marriage that George Lucas and Marcia Lucas had, but Marcia Lucas would edit something a certain way or whatever, and she'd show it, and apparently it was amazing or whatever, and George was like, I wouldn't do it that way, probably.
Yeah, that's how you want to see it.
Yeah,
it's funny. They actually had factions within that because Lucas would be like, it was me and Francis, and then it was De Palma and Scorsese. Oh, Scorsese was the other one.
Yeah.
And then it was Steven, kind of on his own.
And like during the casting for Carrie, which was going on at the same time as Star Wars.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of I guess the casting for Carrie was funny because it was all these women who were going out for that part, and like all these like Spielberg came by, apparently like hit on everybody.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting Amy Irving because she was married to her for a while. But like just all that type of stuff.
No, there's so much cross-pollination. They showed a behind-the-scenes shot of Scarface. Spielberg shot that scene where the Colombians are coming up and say hello to my little friend.
Yeah.
That was Spielberg shot that shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was behind the camera like,
Yeah.
I was like,
funny.
fuck, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that was just an awesome time for movies back then. And these guys didn't appear to be rivals, really. Like
Not really,
let's outdo one, or maybe they did, but it wasn't one of those like I'm going to screw that guy.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, exactly. In fact, was it Lucas that said this? It was one of them that said this. It was like chefs are now, where it's like we all get along, we all love each other, we all want everybody to do well, but we also want to outdo each other. We want you to sit there and be blown away by my picture, and then they're going to steal from it and then make their own thing and all that stuff. That's a good. You should totally check that out. That's
yeah,
right
it's
up
on
your
my
alley.
list. I flipped by it yesterday. Maybe I'll watch Search Party and then Spielberg.
Yeah. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about BetterHelp.
BetterHelp.
BetterHelp. That should be their song, their theme song.
BetterHelp.
Ooh, you know it's hard out here.
Yes, BetterHelp is awesome. We've talked about it before. I've talked a little bit about my journey. I have never been to therapy before. I decided because of this service to give it a shot, and it's been on the front end. It's really good because all you do is sign up. You actually can go to BetterHelp.com/SinCast, and that'll get you started. But you sign up, you answer a few questions, you get your information to them, and they match you to a therapist, a licensed therapist, of which they have a ton of. And on the front end, it was fantastic. I got matched really quickly. I got matched to an excellent, excellent therapist. What's up, Anne? And and so I also mentioned that I was a bad patient for a while. I did one session, and then I just kind of like got busy and distracted and stuff like that, and just didn't reach out. It's easy. It's as easy as humanly possible to reach out. But I got a gentle reminder from my therapist asking if everything was okay. Got back on the horse, and it's been outstanding. It's been challenging, but it's awesome. It's awesome to think about things that you just don't think about on a day-to-day basis, and starting from there, and hopefully I'll be moving on to more like specifics and details and stuff like that, but just kind of like taking stock of where everything is right now is a challenging process. But I've got a shepherd, I've got a Sherpa navigating.
I mean, that you're giggling, but that's an apt description, I think, because everybody has exploratory thoughts in their own head, and if you never go to therapy or share those out loud with somebody who is trained to help you explore those thoughts as opposed to drawing conclusions on your behalf.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever really get to fully explore them. And that's, to me, is what therapy is me exploring my own mind with the guidance of a professional who knows how to get me there.
It's a wild thing. If you've never done it before, or if it's been a long time, it's like working out a muscle that you haven't worked out forever.
Right.
And it seems intuitive. That's the whole thing about therapy, is that, once you hear it out of somebody else's mouth, a lot of times, like, it forces you to view it in a new light. And this can apply to anything, really. So it's been very, very, very rewarding, I think, so far. And speaking of the site itself at BetterHelp, it's the most user-friendly thing I've ever done. There's a counseling room where you set up your appointment, you meet with your therapist and everything. They send you information, whatever information that you need. Like, I've got issues with insomnia. Like, she sent me some stuff on, mindfulness and relaxation and stuff like that.
Awesome.
And meditation. Meditation, I've never been able to meditate in a traditional sense, but there's different sorts of meditation that you can do that can slow you down a little bit. And that's been really helpful. I've been using a lot of the features on the site that I typically wouldn't be, like, not just like showing up, doing the video chat, scheduling the thing. It's fantastic. I couldn't recommend it enough.
See, I don't think we need to say much more than that. I like the fact that you're using the service and you can speak from a first-hand basis, enthusiastically, earnestly. It's supposed to be challenging.
Yeah.
That's where the growth comes in. And I'm happy anytime I learn someone new is going to therapy.
That's awesome.
If that is you, dear listener, check out betterhelp.com/SinCast, and you get
10% off your first month, and that is a significant amount. Trust me. This is an affordable service. If you have issues with the affordability, let them know, and they can walk you through all that stuff. So definitely go to betterhelp.com/SinCast. Literally under or above our logo is where you start, and it really is an easy process to get started. If you're having any issues related to mental health, I encourage you to do it today. Don't wait any longer. It's super easy. BetterHelp.
All right, so I want to warn a movie. I think Chris knows of this movie.
All right.
I was excited at first because I thought neither one of you would have ever heard of this movie. But someone on Twitter predicted that this was the one I was talking about. And this movie had a premiere at Hollywood 27.
I was there for that.
I figured you were.
What was the tweet? Because I didn't know what this is. What you hinted at the details of this movie.
I just said it was a 2009 comedy with lots of stars in it that's terrible.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I saw lots of guesses. One guy guessed it right. It's a movie called The Goods. Live hard, sell hard.
Mm-hmm. I've seen this movie.
Yep.
Oh, fuck me. I really wanted to surprise you with this. Let's read off the cast, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Piven, Ving Rhames, James Brolin, David Kushner, Kathryn Hahn, Ed Helms, Tony Hale, Ken Jeong, Rob Riggle, Alan Thicke, Craig Robinson, Kristen Schaal, or Schaal, I don't know how to say her name.
Schaal.
Matt Walsh. This fucker is stacked. And it's basically used cars where Piven's playing this hotshot car salesman whose middle name in quotes is The Goods.
Yeah.
And he's brought into Temecula because there's a struggling car dealership that's about to go under, and he and his team come in, and they're going to do a big weekend sale and sell all the cars and save the dealership. I don't even know how you got one of these famous, funny people to sign on to that bullshit.
It's the same thing we were talking about with Search
It
Party.
has to be, right? Now that I clicked through this guy that wrote and directed this doesn't appear to have an extensive resume. This is offensively unfunny.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
It's misogynistic. Every single scene with Kathryn Hahn is her trying to fuck whatever guy she's talking to. But there was one more. Now this is just like that Rapture-Palooza movie, which also had Craig Robinson, where the locust would go "Suffer!" And I thought that was really funny. And there's one moment in here, perhaps because I was so starved for a laugh, that I died laughing at. And it's the day the sale's about to start. And David Kushner, Keckner. Where do we know him from?
He's in a million
Anchorman.
things. Anchorman is the best.
He's on the ground and he yells up to Craig Robinson, who's the DJ they've hired from the strip club. And he says, "Hey, let's get some tunes jamming. This place is about to be hopping. How about some Charlie Daniels?" And Craig Robinson goes, "Sure," and starts playing a rap song. And it cuts in close to him and he goes, "Nobody tells DJ Request what to play." I lost my shit. Part of it's probably his delivery. But unfunny movie. I didn't finish it. Very un-Jeremy of me. I stopped about 2/3 of the way through. And then I was like, something tells me, Google. Yeah, it premiered at the Hollywood 27, and you were working there.
I was there. I ran it.
So you saw the pre-screening of it?
I saw the movie. Then they basically, I think it was Paramount. Was it Paramount? I think it was Paramount.
It was Paramount Vintage. It's like a sub-Paramount. Yeah.
We had that theater 27 was closed all day. So that Piven and others, I guess it was just Piven.
Ed Helms was there.
Yeah, Ed Helms also, I think, did an interview. So they did interviews in the Auditorium 27.
When you say they premiered, this was
first
the premiere?
showing. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I think the only reason why it was there was because that's the way Hollywood 27 is. They couldn't get some other theater for it.
Well, this is a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
And so the quote, I actually found an article from 2009 about the premiere from WSMV's website or something, and the Piven quote is, well, we wanted to have the premiere here because Nashville has been so supportive of the film. And I was like, well, that's a great soundbite, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Everything about this movie takes place in California. Maybe you got a country star on the sound. You said Charlie Daniels in that one line of dialogue. There's no connection.
Makes no sense, but they had I believe I remember the interviews being Piven and Helms, and I don't know if anybody else, because I wasn't downstairs during all the red carpet and all that. But I do know that we were told, don't go and talk to Jeremy Piven. And of course, one of our managers, like in the middle of getting him like popcorn or something, was like, do you mind taking a picture with me?
Oh, no.
And he took the picture.
Okay.
But Piven does not look pleased. That was a weird day. I mean, just this movie just premiering at this theater.
I think before I worked there, they had done the premiere for Black Dog.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which is Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
And
Which makes sense because there was country
music all over that movie. But this was the only other premiere. I think we did a couple of regional premieres for indie films or something. But I remember when you told me about it, I was like, that's kind of a big deal. Jeremy Piven is at the Hollywood 27 for a premiere, not wanting to take pictures.
Yeah.
Anyway, terrible movie. And I was really hoping I could surprise at least one of you.
There's a thing, you didn't get to the end of it, but there is a part at the very end where it's Giordano Spiro who plays the love interest or whatever, but there's a line of dialogue while they're in the car that they sort of auto-tune into like some sort of musical thing. And it's like kind of fun. It's not worth sitting through the whole movie for, but it's one of those that's like, oh, that's kind of fun. Why couldn't the rest of the movie be like this? Like
Piven comes out and introduces himself to the salespeople at this place. He says, there's two things you need to know about me. There's hair on my balls and I sell cars. And this is presented as comedy, and it's not funny.
You said Ed Helms is in this?
Ed Helms is in this.
So he did this and The Hangover in the same year?
I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
So Piven is just coming off of the end of Entourage at this point?
I think it's probably near the end.
It is. I'm trying to think.
It's just funny to see like how
Entourage,
these two are.
Entourage still has 2 seasons left.
Okay,
when this comes out,
but he's starting to kind of wane while Helms is like on his way up and going to the office and all that stuff.
Yeah, because I vaguely remember Chris telling me about this premiere, and I don't remember anything about the guy from The Office. All I remember was Jeremy Piven. So I don't think Ed Helms was even a household name at this point. The Hangover helped with that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Let's see. So The Hangover came out in the summer. And I think The Goods may have come out later that summer, maybe. Let's see. June 5th is Hangover. And
August,
yeah, August 14th. So
feels like an August movie.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, everything about it screams that it came out in August. But yeah, he had just done Hangover, so he's like 2 months into The Hangover.
Yeah. No, that movie blows ass.
It does. Didn't make any money.
I haven't seen
Actually,
it since 2009.
it cost $10 million. It made $20 million.
By the way,
shit.
another aspect. This was directed by Neil Brennan, who's a stand-up comic who was with Dave Chappelle during Chappelle's Show.
Yeah, that's where I've heard that name.
Yeah, and he actually acted in some of the bits too.
Yeah.
But he's got a great stand-up act on, I believe, Netflix, where it's 3 different mics. It's called 3 mics or something like that.
Yeah.
Really good because there's I think 2 of them are comedy things, and then one of them is like serious introspection.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
It's a very cool idea.
He is funny. Like I don't know if there was any particular skill that they got for him to get him to direct this movie. It's kind of like Louis C.K. doing
Pootie Tang.
Pootie Tang.
Yeah.
You know, so who knows how that all came about. So
Pootie Tang.
Yep.
yeah.
I'm going to reverse my warn and give you something good that I hadn't seen since 2004. It's the remake of The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, I didn't like this movie.
You didn't like this movie.
I didn't.
You
I
like
didn't
this movie?
either,
Okay.
especially because that first one is so good.
First one's excellent. So Angela Lansbury plays the manipulative, like, senator mom.
And Frank Sinatra is in it, and it's great.
He is the guy, the Denzel character, right?
Yeah.
I know that's weird to say.
Denzel is actually the Frank Sinatra character.
But he plays
yeah.
the same character.
Yeah.
He's not playing the son. I forget who plays the son in the original. The original is fantastic. 1962, I think, something
62.
like that. So the 2004, I remembered liking, actually. It's got Denzel, it's got Meryl Streep as the manipulative mom/senator. It's got Liev Schreiber as the
mom.
The what?
She's his Congress mom.
Yes. Liev Schreiber is the son, and Denzel is this guy who appears very paranoid. John Voight is hilariously cast as a Democratic vice president nominee.
Oh, my God.
But so it's got like a pedigree. It's got a lot of great actors in it, led by Denzel and Meryl Streep. Vera Farmiga actually plays John Voight's daughter in this movie, too. God, she's pretty.
Just driving around in John Voight's car.
So it starts off, I forgot the details because it's been since then since I saw it, and I saw the original right after that. So I forgot the details, and the movie starts by presenting Denzel's character as being very just paranoid. Like, he doesn't know what reality is. He looks like he's a little overly aggressive, and he looks like he's just kind of like overstep. Like he's playing the crazy guy. He's playing Robert De Niro in Cape Fear or The Fan or something like that. Any Robert De Niro character in the 90s. And the whole thing kind of materializes out of this morass of what's real and what's not in a very cool way. Even when it starts to reveal itself, it's done in a way where you're like, did that actually happen, or is dude like making this up as he goes along? And when it finally reveals itself at the end, it's extremely satisfying. This is a very well-made movie, and it's very well acted. In fact, at the beginning, this is Jonathan Demme actually did it. At the beginning, Meryl Streep comes in this flurry of acting, and she's like, "Oh, and my dear son, you need to get out." She's got a British accent. You got to get out there and run for the vice presidency. So I was like, God damn it, this is going to be like a very overacted type of performance. And it turns out to be in the service of the greater story, and it's mesmerizing. Yes, the original is qualitatively better, but this is a really, really, really good movie.
I would take a couple reallys out of that sentence.
Do you remember it very well?
I saw it like 6 months ago.
Okay.
I remember thinking Homeland Season 1 did it better.
Well, this was long before Season 1.
But it's very similar to, maybe Homeland ripped it off. I don't remember thinking it was bad. I will give you that. I just remember thinking it was there.
Homeland? Where do you get Homeland? Homeland?
Did you see Homeland?
I saw Homeland.
Playoffs?
There's that scene
Where do you get
in the end
Homeland?
of the first season. He wears that vest into the bomb shelter
Yeah.
because he's supposed to blow up the politician.
Yeah. Nah.
It's exactly the same thing.
No, it's not.
It's exact same thing.
It's not.
Exactly same thing.
What it is, and it's almost, well, it's not really like the conversation, but there's a little bit of parallel in that once he figures out what's going on, and it does, I'll spoil it, I guess, it does turn out to where Denzel's character is right about his situation.
Mm-hmm.
But the conspiracy goes up to the tippy top of everything. There's nowhere he can go. The only place that he could go, they take that person out. So it's like the extreme of paranoia where you know you're right, or you're pretty sure you're right, but you're the only person that knows this. And so there's nowhere to turn. It sounds like a cliche, but it's presented very, very well, I think.
I'm not gonna trash you too much. I only saw it the one time, and that was several months ago.
Homeland.
And I love Denzel.
You talking about Homeland?
Homeland was awesome for a season.
Homeland was awesome. It has nothing to do with the fucking
It's the same fucking story. Denzel puts on a bomb vest and goes into the shelter, and he's supposed to blow up the senator, and he at the last minute he doesn't have to do it.
Oh my God, that's a tense moment in Homeland, by the way. That's fucking
sure
amazing.
That first season's great.
Yeah,
Demi would be another good guy to go through someday. I'll actually just do it now. And he started with Roger Corman. Like a lot of the movies he did was Roger Corman. Caged Heat was like his first.
That was Jonathan Demme?
Was his first
the girl prison thing?
Yeah.
No
and
shit.
so he did a bunch of these type of Roger Corman stuff. And then he started getting into respectability or whatever you want to call it with Melvin and Howard, which got Mary Steenburgen an Oscar.
Really?
Yeah. And so Melvin and Howard was that. And then in Swing Shift, I don't know that one. Stop Making Sense.
Oh, yeah.
He did a bunch of Talking Head stuff. And then it goes to, because he did a lot of music video stuff, Something Wild, Swimming to Cambodia, Married to the Mob.
Oh, he did that? That's a funny movie. I like that movie.
Obviously, The Silence of the Lambs was his apex.
Did he get an Oscar for that?
I believe he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Philadelphia was following a couple years after that. Then he did Beloved, and see, this is where Demi starts kind of going. It's like nothing's like a guarantee with him. After a while, it's he's done a lot of Bruce Springsteen stuff.
Is that the Beethoven one?
No,
that's
Immortal
Beloved. Beloved is the one that has Tandy Newton and Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I like that movie.
And I actually never saw it. I just heard it was just disappointing or whatever. So I never saw it.
Yeah, it's not great.
The Truth About Charlie, which was that remake with Mark Wahlberg.
Oh,
Also, Tandy Newton was in that. The Agronomist, The Manchurian Candidate, and then Rachel Getting Married.
Oh, that
Which also is exactly like the first season of Homeland.
Exactly. Yeah.
Rachel Getting Married is Anne Hathaway, right?
Yeah.
I really like that movie.
I always get Rachel Getting Married mixed up with the Katie Holmes Thanksgiving movie.
Pieces of April.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I do.
No, I see why you do. Both brunettes that are train wrecks.
And their families are showing up.
Yeah.
And then he did that Ricky and the Flash movie with Meryl Streep.
Is he still alive?
He likes working with Streep.
No, he died a couple years ago.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that recent.
Esophageal cancer. Heart disease.
Was he
you were
related
saying
to,
a movie that he made.
Is he related to Ted Demme?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and Ted Demme, obviously, he died early too. I think he died because of drug overdose.
Yeah. No, this is a good movie.
Yeah, they were either brothers or they were cousins. I can't remember which one it was.
Cousin brothers.
Yeah.
Cousin brothers.
Yeah.
Carruthers. Buzzins.
Carruthers? Yeah. That's how they got that name. And that's how the name Carruthers came up. So we got some questions and answers.
Let's do it.
Some Q's and A's.
Yes.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
Okay, first question. Did you see that Disney Plus, the new streaming service from Disney, is only going up to PG-13 content on its main platform? And that if you want more, quote, adult fare on the service, you'd have to bundle it with an ad-supported version of Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Does this affect your perception of the service in any way? Or does it make it less of a hugely serious threat to Netflix since they have to keep a governor's cap on their primary content, even if they're Disney?
I don't know if that's true, really. They have to keep a cap on their best content.
Ratings-wise.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I understand why, right? Disney Plus is going to be packaged to families.
Yes.
And they don't want kids wandering around and, it's like, oh, Frozen and the Adventures in the Antarctic or something like that. And just below that is Frozen bondage adventures, something, whatever. I'm sure that they're not going into porn or anything like
Buns 3.
Yeah, Cum Buns 3. Yeah, I want your cock. Come on, Eileen.
I was just watching The Heartbreak Kid. By the way, that's a fucking remake. Did you know that?
Of course it is, yeah.
When they have sex, it always kills me. It's like, cock me, Eddie. Cock me. And then she says, fuck me like a black man.
Oh, no.
And he ends up rocking in the corner in a chair.
But yeah, it makes sense to me because although if Netflix can have a parental control thing, I don't know why they can't.
Yeah.
Why don't you just make it where like, okay, here's all the content PG and down, G and down, PG-13 and down, and that's what you give your kid. And then when it comes to your own account, you can watch, and that R-rated stuff isn't going to be like crazy probably.
Sure.
So
I mean, I think you want to know what I think this means?
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be any more R-rated Deadpool. Why would Disney make a Deadpool movie they know for a fact they can't put on their own service, which they've capped at PG-13?
I don't like that answer.
But
you may be
has
right,
to be what it
but
means.
I don't like that answer.
Now, granted, if I don't know what it means when we're just going by the question writer here, but when it says that,
Who is Barrett S. from Nashville, by the way?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
oh really?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was actually somebody wrote it in. You cheater! Somebody at home right now going, "I wrote a question about Peter Rabbit, and you chose this instead." Adult content bundled with an ad-supported version of Hulu. I don't know what that means. If it means, it may very well mean a parental guidance thing on Disney Plus, but you just also, they want to make you pay for Hulu at the same time. It sounds like they're saying anything over PG-13 that comes out of Disney will be put on Hulu.
Correct.
So
because
that
they
tells
essentially
me,
own Hulu.
I don't think they're going to make an R-rated Deadpool movie.
Why couldn't they then come out with that on the R-rated stuff that you can get with Hulu?
Because, well, I guess my thinking would be anything that they put out that is so adult it has to go on Hulu is not part of the Disney brand.
Right.
So I don't even know why they would make it in the first place.
Okay.
Look at Netflix with that show about masturbating and sex and My Mom's a Teacher. Well,
Sex Education?
You watched it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or the cartoon that's all sexy and horny.
Big Mouth.
And then you got HBO with Euphoria. What Disney is saying is we're never going to make that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will give Netflix and HBO and anyone else that wants to make that edgy shit the ability to market on it. But it also gives Disney the ability to market on, hey, your 9-year-old is never going to see a tit.
But I don't know what you want. I don't know why your plans to make a Deadpool would have anything to do with the service. Like, you would come out, obviously you'd come out with that as a movie first, and you'd probably make your movie in theaters first. You wouldn't come out with Deadpool just on a streaming service.
No, but as I understand it, eventually all Disney everything will only be available on Disney Plus. Like, I don't think Disney's going to make an R-rated Deadpool and then give Netflix the rights to air it.
No, but
so this Disney Plus is shaping everything they do from here forward, I feel like, because that is the golden honeypot.
No, they wouldn't give it to Netflix, but they'd just give it to the Hulu thing, and that would be fine by them, I think.
Maybe. I mean,
well,
we're speculating.
Yeah.
Well, we're speculating in the fact that we're assuming that they will continue to release in theaters rather than take the Netflix model and either do a limited run or just publish to Netflix.
So wait, there's rumor that they're not even going to have stuff in theaters anymore?
No,
but he's
conjecture.
speculating that they may make movies moving forward
they're definitely,
that are only intended to be on the service.
Well, for sure, we've already seen trailers for those. There's trailers for all sorts of Disney movies that are coming out on that service. That's for sure happening. But I don't know if just because they can't put Deadpool on Disney Plus, they wouldn't make it R-rated. Now, it makes it more likely that they would make it PG-13 because they would want to have that on the service. But I don't know why you would be like, we really want to make this awesome R-rated Deadpool movie, but now if it's gonna be on that Hulu bundled service, no.
I mean, I feel like again, I'm reading a lot into this and guessing on a lot of their intentions, but I almost feel like this is Disney saying we are not going to be an R-rated company.
It is exactly. They literally said that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they created Touchstone Pictures back in the day. That's where they put all their R-rated stuff was on Touchstone.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they're saying that this is our brand. We're going to be PG-13 and lower. By the way, Apple Plus TV is doing the same thing. They're making it essentially a network thing. They're not going to go into R-rated as of now. They're not going to go into R-rated
content. If that show
content.
with Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston and Steve Carell is PG rated,
it is. At least that's what they're saying. I haven't seen it, obviously, but that's how they're marketing this. Anything that would be shown on network television is kind of the content that we're looking for.
Cripes.
Yep.
Did you see De Niro on CNN drop the F-bomb twice?
No.
They asked him about Fox News criticizing him, and he goes, "Fuck him." And then he goes, "Fuck him." And the host goes, "Well, we're a cable station, so that's not a violation of the FCC, but it is still Sunday morning, sir."
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And De Niro probably could give two fucks, right?
Yeah,
that's funny. But yeah, I just see this as being a bet. Now, it's Disney, so it's not like it's a huge bet. But they're saying, we're going to cap this as far as content goes. We are not going to be mature content. We're not going to be, quote, adult content. We're going to have a limit of what we're going to show.
That matches, though, historically, the content they've been putting out under the Disney brand for 50 years.
They rarely
but
ever.
now it covers Marvel and it covers everything.
But historically, Disney has not made anything R-rated.
Yeah, they rarely ever come out with anything.
But I think the speculation is now they have Deadpool, now they have Wolverine, we just had Logan. I think comic book fans might be hoping they keep some of that stuff edgy, and I'm saying I feel like this announcement maybe hints that might not be the case.
Well, I also think that it is now, and we're talking about two behemoths, and we're talking Disney is its own behemoth, but I think it's a little bit less of a threat to Netflix as a whole, because Netflix has anything, basically, like, we do what we want, right? And Disney is saying there are certain things that we won't do. And so if you want something like, I don't know, Big Mouth, or you want something like Sex Education, or Bright, that's a bad example. There's only one place that you can go for it. You're not going to go to Apple Plus TV. You're not going to go to Disney. You're probably going to go to Netflix.
You know how
Black Mirror is an example.
The Hallmark Channel puts out like 50 original Christmas movies every year.
Yeah.
We all know someone that may or may not have written a couple of these. And I was having lunch with this person joking. I said, I'm going to write my own Hallmark Christmas movie. And he was like, all right. And I was like, recovering alcoholic. And he goes, stop right there. That's too hard. That's too far for them.
Wow.
Like the standards at the Hallmark Channel are even tighter than Disney. Like, you can't even have a recovering. I was going to have a recovering alcoholic Santa, and he was like, "Stop right there."
Wow,
that would never clear.
It has to be like stressed out executive or something like that.
You can't go to the alcohol route. It's like, take that shit to Lifetime. But the Hallmark movie,
yeah.
So I think it means is that creators who are brewing edgy content just won't pitch it to Disney Plus or Apple minus whatever it's called. They'll go to the Netflix and the HBOs, and I don't think it means as much as you seem to think it does about the overall battle between streaming giants. I think it just creates more clear destinations for types of content.
Yeah, no, I think this bodes well overall for the long-term viability of Netflix.
I agree, because they can push into that area.
Yeah.
When you have Marvel, Star Wars, and Pixar, what do you care if there's any R-rated content? Because that's what's in the top 10 every year.
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
So
and obviously so.
I that's the way I feel about it. And like, and your R-rated stuff, you people really want that stuff. They can go to this bundled thing. I do wonder though. I have Hulu. I hardly ever go to it, so I'm like basically just paying for it for no reason. But I do wonder, because you said it's an ad supported.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Hulu that basically bought out the ads, so I'm wondering, can I still get the?
I think you would. Yeah. I think when they say the ad-supported version, that's the lowest tier they can force you to have to bundle.
Well, yeah, I don't know exactly what the bundle is, but as marketed, it's like $8 for the Disney Plus on its own. So you could actually just get Disney Plus on its own and then have your Hulu in a different space. The other aspect of that bundle is ESPN Plus, if anybody's interested in that. But that's like the $13.99 model. The other thing that we were talking about actually before the podcast is that they're streaming in 4K now. And there is a Netflix option, which I didn't know existed, where you can stream in 4K. But it's like $17 a month. Disney Plus apparently will be available in 4K. But yeah, so I think if you go with the bundle that they're marketing right now, it has to be the ad-supported Hulu. But in that case, you would just get a la carte Disney Plus.
I watched They Shall Not Grow Old on Hulu.
Oh, yeah?
No, I watched Apollo 11 on Hulu.
Oh, yeah?
And the only reason I go to Hulu with any regularity is that for now it has Seinfeld. So
yeah, and I watched the first season of
The Good Place.
No, I think I started watching it there, but no, it was The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh yeah.
I watched the first season of that there. I still haven't gotten beyond that. It was a good show. It's just not. I just haven't had time. But other than that, yeah, it's been like occasionally I'll go and I want to see that Rick and Morty or whatever.
Yeah,
and that's what I'll use it for. It's definitely not worth the money I'm putting into it.
Yeah.
But whatever, you know, it's there. It's there.
And you can see mature content.
Oh yeah, and I saw that when I was using my Oculus One thing. Saw that Keanu Reeves movie that was so awful.
Oh, Knock Knock?
No, that movie's awful too. Although I think I did see Knock Knock on that, but I saw some other Keanu Reeves movie that also had Ana de Armas in it, and I warned it on this podcast.
I remember you talking.
I don't remember what it's called. It was one of those. I think it had one of those one name like blends into everything else type. Oh, so shitty.
You want to do another question?
Yeah, let's do it.
From an actual listener. Which actor/actress do you guys think won an Oscar but for the wrong film? This is a very good example. For example, I always thought that Leonardo DiCaprio should have won the Oscar for The Wolf of Wall Street or Django Unchained and not for, this person says, The Revenant.
Yeah, switch the two letters there. The Revenant.
The Revenant.
Yeah. So I put Jack Nicholson here. Now, he's won 3 times. He's won for Terms of Endearment. He's won for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he won for As Good as It Gets. I would be willing to trade both his Terms of Endearment Oscar and his As Good as It Gets Oscar for at least a nomination for The Pledge.
The Pledge, a movie nobody talks about.
Nobody talks about it. It actually becomes a weird, warn out of this question, because The Pledge is a movie that nobody has ever seen, I don't think, except me and this other guy at Hollywood 27. And it came out in, I believe, January of 2001, somewhere around there.
I think we've seen it, right?
Which one?
The Pledge?
Nope. Well, no, yes, I did. I went through a phase where I watched that one, but I always get it confused with The Crossing Guard.
Yeah. So Sean Penn directed The Pledge, and Jack Nicholson, just like we were talking about with Hackman in the conversation where he's completely different, Nicholson has his thing that he does and everything, and he always wins Oscars for it, like as he did in As Good as It Gets. But in The Pledge, he's a completely different character. It's almost like he's like, all right, Sean, I'm going to do this different for you, you know, and he does a different thing in The Pledge. He's more vulnerable in that. He's not like doing all of his crazy Jackisms and everything. That movie's devastating. He is unbelievable in it. He should have gotten nominated for it. Unfortunately, nobody saw the movie. It didn't make any money. And I think to this day, still, people haven't seen that thing.
Yeah.
So,
and plus, I mean, he got nominated for A Few Good Men, and he got beat by somebody from Unforgiven, right?
It would have been Hackman.
Yeah. I always thought that's ridiculous. Now, I know it's apples and oranges, and Hackman was fantastic.
And Nicholson was in A Few Good Men for like 10 to 15 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, but he's the most rememberable.
Yeah, sure.
Rememberable?
Sure.
My favorite part of A Few Good Men is when Demi Moore gets mad at Viggo Mortensen and says, "Suck my dick."
The fuck?
That's G.I. Jane, just mixing up the two movies.
That was Ridley Scott.
Did you ever see G.I. Jane?
I did see G.I.
It's not a bad little movie.
It's not, actually. It's pretty good. Yeah, that's a good one. I want to rewatch The Pledge now.
Yeah.
Because like you, I get that, and isn't it Blood and Wine, too, came out around that?
Yeah. I can't remember, I don't know if Sean Penn may have done one or both of those. I think we've discussed this before.
Yeah.
I don't think he did both of them, but he did one or the other, maybe.
The Crossing Pledge and Wine.
Yes. Crossing Guard was Sean Penn. And Blood and Wine, I think, was maybe
Tony Scott.
No, it was Bob Rafelson.
Yes.
He's done a bunch of stuff with Bob Rafelson. 5 Easy Pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So,
what do you think? Oscars for the wrong movie.
I wrote down Denzel. He won for Training Day, but he deserved a Best Actor way before that. He did win Best Supporting, I think, for Glory.
That's the only Best Lead Actor that he's ever won?
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
I feel like he's got a half dozen performances that are worthy. I didn't pick one.
I would put Malcolm X on that.
That's got to be up there.
Inside Man, even. I also think in Training Day that Ethan Hawke's character is borderline deserving of poor bastard status.
Oh, my God. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then I also wrote down Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour. Don't hit me. I just watched this movie 2 days ago. He's fantastic in it. The problem is he was award-worthy fantastic for 25 years before he won that one. And it's frustrating to me because that's how the Oscars work. They go, oh, we've been ignoring this guy for so long. Here's a good performance that's not quite as great, but the field is dim this year, so we'll give it to him as like a makeup thing.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Same with, I think even the question asker mentions Leo and The Revenant versus Wolf of Wall Street or something he'd done before that. It just feels like a pattern. Makeup Oscars. It's like umps in baseball giving a makeup call after they fuck up one.
Yeah.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Was he even nominated for Wolf of Wall Street?
Who?
DiCaprio?
I don't remember. I don't think.
God, that's a movie that I just rewatched.
Yeah.
That movie fucking rules, man.
I often put that in as background when I'm doing other things.
It's perfect, man.
It's a movie worthy of actually watching, but it's one of those that's so episodic that you can just
Yeah.
You know, he did get nominated for that, as did Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill got nominated.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
For the second time.
Man's got range, that Jonah Hill.
I don't know. Let's not go that far.
Are you kidding?
I mean, he's playing the same guy in Moneyball that he plays in Wolf of Wall Street.
No, he's... What? That's like comparing Homeland to the Manchurian Candidate.
They're the exact same thing.
I would disagree.
I actually haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street since it came out.
Yeah, Moneyball, he's such a nerd, introspective nerd. And then Wolf of Wall Street, he's such an outrageously fucked up.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, he's such an asshole.
All right, I need to watch that one again.
You totally need to watch that movie
But
again.
I'm not sure that those two
He
movies...
pulls his dick out.
Yes, he does. Is it covered in cocaine?
I don't know if it's covered in cocaine.
No, but he's jacking it.
Yeah.
That was the combination between jacking it and jerking it.
Yeah. He did jerking it.
I really need to watch this movie. I've only seen it the one time.
We saw it together.
They see Margot Robbie come in, and they're like, I'd fuck her without a condom on, and they're like, I'd fuck her if she had AIDS.
This movie is ripe for you to watch 25 times.
Oh yeah,
even though it's super long. It's like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
My easy answer for this is Al Pacino because he's only got the one win for Sin of a Woman.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he'd been nominated 8 times.
Both of the Godfathers, not the third. I mean, he's not the problem with the third.
Mm-hmm.
Both of the Godfathers. Dog Day Afternoon is probably his best performance ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane.
I just watched Serpico for the first time a few weeks ago.
What'd you think?
Well, I stupidly had expected an action movie because Serpico.
Yeah,
it sounds like a cop who's in the midnight alley shooting people, but it's much more about him trying to expose police corruption and getting shut down at every turn. I thought he was great.
It was based on a real guy too, and he hung out with that dude, that real Serpico guy, and that guy. I would love to talk to that dude for a while. I think he's still alive. The original Serpico.
Wow.
But
I mean, he's terrific in that.
Talking about how much integrity this dude has is insane.
Yeah. And say what you will about Scarface, he goes for it in Scarface. And I think I love it. I know you guys don't. Donnie Brasco. How does he not get? He may have gotten nominated for Donnie Brasco.
That is what we've been talking about. The running theme today is that is his subdued opposite end of the spectrum performance, because he's usually a shouter.
Yeah.
And in this one, he's broken. He's old. He's worn down. He's tired. He doesn't have it anymore, but he wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sin of a Woman is not a bad movie. It gets a bad rap, and he's great in it. It's overly sentimental, and it's overly kind of like marshmallowy. But he's great. But he's definitely, that's not his Oscar, I don't think. He should have won much longer before and maybe since after that. And the other one that was a little bit surprising is Audrey Hepburn only won one Academy Award. It was for Roman Holiday fairly early in her career.
I think it's her first movie.
Yeah, and I've seen Roman Holiday fairly recently, like in the last year or so. It's got Gregory Peck in it. Have you seen Roman Holiday?
Yeah. I haven't seen it in forever, though.
It's a very product of its time. Like anybody that watches that from the present day, it's a product of its time. It's a very 50s, romantic comedy, breezy, and really nothing to it. She's like the princess of a foreign country that, gets lost in Rome. There's nothing really there.
That sounds
She's
like
fine.
First Daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
And the first season of Homeland.
Fine.
Yes.
But it's
more
nothing.
Seinfeld than Homeland.
It's nothing like Breakfast at Tiffany's. Like Holly Golightly is this fully realized character. Now, this was in the 60s, 63, 64-ish.
Roman Holiday?
No, I'm talking about Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, Breakfast at Tiffany's. Yeah, I think that's right.
And she's independent. She's an independent woman. Like, she's not like a manic pixie dream girl. Well, I mean, you could say that she is, but she's also on her own bullshit. Like, she does what she wants to. She lives her own life. She lives by herself. She's not attached to anything. That's why she calls the cat. You've seen Breakfast at Tiffany's.
No.
This is the one that she should have won for, and not Roman Holiday. She's perfectly fine in Roman Holiday, but she's excellent in Breakfast.
My Fair Lady?
My Fair Lady is very, very good too. I haven't seen that in a long time. I'm wondering if that's a product of its time too.
It's also like 6 hours long. Like, I would not recommend going back to
long.
it, just because you'll be watching it and they'll get to the horse race scene and you'll be like, is this fucking shit over yet?
Yeah, so Roman Holiday wasn't her first movie, but I think it was her first starring role, because if you look at the stuff that's before this, I don't think she's featured at all. But and Breakfast at Tiffany's was in 1961.
Nice.
61. Yeah, no, that's a delightful movie. It's got Papard from
George
A-Team.
Papard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's great in that.
That's not true. She hooked up with George Papard. I mean, Fred. Fred's gay, George. Remember that episode of Seinfeld? Mr. Seinfeld trivia winner? He cheats by watching the...
You keep these weird non sequiturs that are out of context. I can't keep up. What are some movies that you think came out at the wrong time? Whether that be competition at the box office, or maybe it would have done better in a different year or season. This is, I think, a very original question that I don't think we've got before.
For me, it's Cinderella Man.
Cinderella Man.
Cinderella Man is one of Ron Howard's best movies. I would put it right under Apollo 13.
And just above The Paper.
And just above The Paper.
Sadly, you can make an argument for that.
I like
you
The
might
Paper.
be able to, yeah. Howard's made a lot of, like, mildly enjoyable movies. But Cinderella Man came out in 2005. It came out in the summer of 2005.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's a boxing movie, and $1 Million Baby had just won the Oscar. So $1 Million Baby, I guess February, March, won the Oscar for 2004, and then just 4 or 5 months later, Cinderella Man comes out in the summer. It's not a summer movie at all. And it would have benefited by coming out in October, November during Oscar season. I think Paul Giamatti might have gotten a better shot at getting an Oscar nomination for that. I think this might be. Is this the one that he got his nomination for? It might have been.
He was nominated for that Harvey Picard thing, right?
No.
No.
He wasn't?
No.
American Splendor?
Jesus
No.
Christ.
That's why it's so ridiculous about Paul Giamatti is that, he was nominated for this. He has not been nominated for anything else.
Not even
some
Sideways.
bullshit.
No, not even Sideways.
That's some bullshit.
Not Sideways, not American Splendor. He's only been nominated one time. So it came out in 2005. And so I looked at it. This movie came out, it was Universal Pictures came out with Cinderella Man. So I looked at their October and their November schedule in 2005 and December as well. And on October 7th, they came out with Two for the Money.
That's second mention of Two for the Money in the last month.
It is. They could have come out with it there. Two for the Money is way more a summer movie.
Yep,
totally.
Then October 21st, Doom came out. They could have come out with Doom, in the summer as well.
Yes, they could have.
But they came out with it at October 21st. I guess because Doom, horror, Halloween, I guess. I don't know. Then a movie that on October 28th with Uma Thurman, Meryl Streep called Prime, which I think I saw.
I saw that.
For sure saw because it was 2005.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about it.
I don't either.
They could have come out with it then. Now, the only two release dates that I figure they probably couldn't have come out with this. November 4th was Jarhead. I'm assuming they had high hopes for Jarhead. And then December 14th was King Kong. Of course, you're going to come out with your blockbuster December 14th. But one of those October release dates, move one of those other things to summer. Maybe they had some other thing going on that we don't know about. I don't know. But that movie should have been out during Oscar season, and it would have done way better. It only made $62 million here. And because it's an American boxer that nobody gives a shit about worldwide, it only made like $100 million worldwide. So I feel like that would have done a lot better. Would have would have been better prepared, better marketed if it had come out then.
Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe.
Renee Zellwegs.
Yeah.
Zellwegs.
I call her Zellwegs.
That's what you call her?
Paul Giamatti has that part where he's like, oh my Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Oh Jesus, oh my God, Mary. He's like, did I say Jesus? That's after he comes in and he does that. He has that huge fight and he blows this dude away basically, and they come back and Paul Giamatti comes walking in.
I always think about this movie because one of the fights he fights Max Baer.
Yes.
And I always think about this movie when I'm watching Quiz Show. Because he's going through Max Baer was defeated by, because there's that boxing question on 21, and he says Max Baer.
Anyway. Yeah.
Booksmart is my best answer.
Yeah.
This movie came out at the end of May, and I'm almost almost sure that is because the movie is about school ending, and the last day of school before summer, and that is the end of May.
But it's also the release date that studios use because it's after Memorial Day, where they're almost dumping it. It's hard to believe that there are spots in the summer where you're dumping, and that's one. Late May is a dump week. It's almost like September, although it's better positioned than September is.
Yeah, I haven't heard anybody who's seen it say bad things about it.
No.
It's great. It didn't make any money. I saw some famous Hollywood types bemoaning the fact that nobody went to see it, but you put it out in summer blockbuster territory. You needed to find a nice, I don't even care what month of the year, you just needed to find a nice empty weekend missing a comedy and promote the shit. Nobody's going to not enjoy that movie if they watch it in November and go, wait, school got out back in May.
And I think Superbad, which is the movie that it's constantly compared to, came out in July or August.
August 17th. I just looked that up.
Yeah, and it came out, that was 2007?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2007. So you would think that following that model would have been. I know that Good Boys bullshit came out in August, and maybe that's the reason why it wasn't positioned where it was. But if you're gonna avoid that, you might as well just go ahead and come out with this in the fall, some other spot. I agree with you. I think Booksmart got destroyed by coming out in May.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have stood to be better positioned for sure.
Yeah, you know what's going on in the fall? School.
Yeah.
And it may remind you that you want to go see this movie about school.
Well, shit, dude. I mean, Euphoria aired all throughout the summer, and that was about school. And
yeah.
Big dances. And I mean, I can't think of any other reason why, except that last week of May is when most people are getting out of school, and they wanted to be timely.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that you don't put a Christmas movie out in May.
Mm-hmm.
You put it out at Christmas because people are thinking Christmas, but I don't think that applies to like all of human events.
I think that's probably part of it, but I don't think that's the only reason why they came out with it in late May. I think it's another part of it is they thought that was the best spot that they could find for some reason doesn't make sense, but maybe because of all the Avengers Endgame stuff, that's you're trying to avoid that in some way. But you could have come out with this in April, probably. It would have been better. That's what movies like Fast and the Furious have done in the past, to get a head start on the summer. But yeah, I agree with you totally. This should have been moved somewhere else. It will find its audience though.
It will eventually. It's a good enough film. I think that's the case. Yeah.
I'll tell you, a Christmas movie that came out in the summer is Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh yeah,
July of 1999.
Because if the incidental setting of the movie is Christmas, then it must be a Christmas movie. Says people who are wrong.
Yep.
I just narrated that scene in the last week or so.
Yeah, I wrote that one.
It's interesting. I wonder if there would have been. But I wonder if it came out in award season, if it would have gotten a little more consideration.
It came out in the summer?
It came out in July of 1999.
Was that, do you think, because of the Tom Cruise star power?
Yep.
Because that movie is definitely set in, like, cold weather.
It's set in New York at Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, they go to the big ball at the beginning is a Christmas
wearing, like,
party.
big fucking trench coats, and that's weird.
I have no idea why they did that. I know that Kubrick died, like, a week or two before the movie actually even came out. But I don't know why they were so heavy on that date at all. I don't know. I mean, it would have been better to come out with it later in the year.
Yeah. We've talked about Solo. I continue to think Solo, first of all, in my opinion, is underrated because I thought it was a lot of fun. But we talked about why did it come out in fucking May when December was wide open, except for Aquaman. And Aquaman cleaned up, I think, because it was the thinnest kid at Fat Camp. That movie does not hold up to me, by the way.
No.
Aquaman?
No. Like,
I
think I was so starved for DC to have some positivity that I was reading stuff into
Momoa is good in it, is so good in it and funny in it that he carries as far as it can go.
Yeah.
But everything else around that is awful.
The effects are so bad.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe is uncharacteristically bad. Amber Heard is very pretty. But that's about it. That's all I got to say about it.
By the way, just wanted to bring this up because Amber Heard is also one of those, like, she's still in that weird, like, I don't know what to think about her yet because we don't know what's going on with that Johnny Depp thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't hear the last thing that happened about that. Don't know if Johnny Depp's the asshole, she's the asshole.
Seems like it keeps going back and forth.
But we also, I felt bad that we didn't bring that up about Asia Argento last time too. Last week, because Asia Argento had a situation where she slept with an underage kid, and she had to settle that out of court. And
they took she took pictures of them in bed.
Yes,
and he was like 16, 17?
17 years old, I believe.
Yeah,
and so like that had happened. And while you were talking about that movie last week, I was like, oh, I don't know, because the last thing I heard, I thought there was like some change in that case.
Oh,
but no, it was just that she slept with him and didn't know that he was under 18.
I don't know if I knew that. Wow.
You didn't know that?
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, it's
was that fairly recent? Like,
yeah, because she was obviously one of the pioneers in the Me Too.
Yeah.
And
then he came out and
then
said,
that
hey.
dude came out and said,
I got you.
Yeah. So
wow.
Anyway, just wanted to bring that up. Didn't want to bring the whole show down.
I got you. One last thing is Blade Runner in 1982 was released in July. Does anything about that movie besides Harrison Ford scream summer release? Like,
no,
hey.
But that's also one of those situations where they could just be, because it seems like if you show a trailer of this, it looks like a big summer blockbuster, right?
Yeah.
They don't know it's some ponderous, thing.
Yeah.
So that's probably how they marketed it. They probably said, "Ooh, big blockbuster, Harrison Ford. Yeah, Indiana Jones and Han Solo. Yeah, that's probably what they did. But yeah, that's another movie that probably should have come out in like October, November, whatever.
You remember when Blade Runner 2049 came out?
It was October or November.
Yeah, and that suits the mood.
Yeah,
like that's a movie you want to watch.
Yeah,
when you're bundled up in your fall clothes and stuff like that. So it's weird because we're talking about quote unquote prime placement in summer being a problem. but there's some times where it's a problem, especially when you can release something over the holidays or something like that.
Yeah,
it's just it better suits the mood.
2049 came out October 6th. And I don't know if you brought this up about Solo, but it did get delayed because of all the Lord and Miller stuff, and it was supposed to come out December of the previous year. And then they just decided, well, we had our time, let's come out with it in May. And because it took that long to get it back to get it to watchable, I guess, or whatever it was that they had to do.
But there was a Star Wars movie that
it was Last
winter.
Jedi that
it
previous
was Last
winter,
Jedi,
right?
and then Solo came after that, right?
Yeah, it was Last Jedi in the December of 2017.
But so was it the previous December then that they were going to try to come out with it? Because
I don't know,
or was it always supposed to come out in May?
I think it was always supposed to come out in the summer of 2018. Yeah, it was last year that it came out.
My brain is a pretzel right now.
Meaning that they had, in between the regular Star Wars dates, they had a prime spot in 2018 December.
So what we're saying is they didn't delay it or anything. They just decided to come out with it in May.
Right.
And then they could have come out with it in December where everybody's used to watching Star Wars now,
right.
And they didn't.
And there's no competition really.
Yeah.
And plus, what we've talked about before, there's Star Wars fatigue from watching Last Jedi.
Yes.
And then there was Star Wars blowback from watching The Last Jedi.
Yeah, because, man, the more and more as time goes by, man, that movie, like, people just physically hate Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this before. There's no reason to hate somebody over a stupid movie.
No.
Well, it's worse, I think, for the two guys that ran Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Because they had to back out of Comic-Con.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the shitheads online were going to go throw shit at him and heckle him and scream at him for ruining the season. There's a whole subreddit dedicated. It's called Free Folk. It's dedicated to bashing Benoit and
Benioff and Weiss.
Benioff and Weiss. They call them the D's. They take it very personally. They forget that these gentlemen shepherded the first 7 seasons of the show you fucking love.
Yep.
They focus only on, I wouldn't have ended it that way. The internet has made us all worse.
Yes. Yeah, that's a bad.
I'm telling you, I've said it before. If you shut down Twitter tomorrow, instantly the world is a better place to live.
Yeah,
instantly.
You got to agree with that.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sherrill. See you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
Plus, I probably won't even be mad at them. I want to make friends with them. But apparently, the wild turkeys are a big nuisance to the landscape.
Really?
Yeah. They just do what they want. He was like, I'm not talking about like 2 turkeys. I'm talking about like 30 turkeys.
Shit. That's a gaggle of turkeys.
It's a murder of turkeys.
It's a murder of turkeys.
Yes. By the way, a group of turkeys is called a rafter.
A rafter?
A rafter.
That doesn't even
of
make
turkeys.
sense.
A rafter?
I think at some point they got whoever was
They
has something
are-
knows got
They
tired.
are often incorrectly referred to as a gobble or simply a flock. They are a rafter. I have no idea how they came up with this. How'd they come up with murder of crows?
Well, that one I know.
Seriously?
Well, because when crows are together more than 2 or 3, it's almost always because they're gang up on like a mockingbird or a hawk, and they literally kill some other bird or animal. And so they get together in a group to murder. And that is, I'm 99% sure I'm not making this shit up.
Well, and I think crows and ravens are technically the same thing, but but ravens they're unkindness.
Oh, that one I have heard before, but that's dumb.
Yeah, treachery or conspiracy
An unkindness
of ravens.
Of ravens.
Hold on. What is it again?
Unkindness.
An unkindness of raven?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I feel like, honestly, no one has ever used this in their lives. Like, no one ever, like, he's like a farmer coming out going, look, there's an unkindness of the ravens.
Yonder unkindness.
Yonder unkindness. Yes.
I think Edgar Allan Poe was the only guy who ever used it.
That's probably where they get it from. Is it raven? Is raven the plural, or is it ravens? Ravens.
Yeah.
Ravens.
Yeah.
We've all learned something today.
We did.
Let's go home now.
Yeah. I'll go and I'll read a week's worth of tweets from you at some point, but never every day.
Have you read the one yet where I gave you credit for I watched Apollo 11?
I did read that one, yes.
God damn, that movie was amazing.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it completely steals from First Man all of the moon awe that First Man gave me because it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you seen First Man?
Yeah.
So that moment when he gets out of the craft and it just goes, I guess in IMAX, it went full IMAX and it's just dead silent moon dust is awesome. But now I will never feel as awesome.
Yeah.
Because I saw basically the same thing on documentary footage.
Yeah.
And I'm also like, I think you said this when you talked about it on the podcast, but how many other great fucking movies are out there sitting in some archive somewhere that we just don't know about?
Yeah, no telling.
That's crazy that they had all of that just sitting in an archive.
I know.
And who was the guy who came along? I might want to make a movie. Can I check out your archives? Oh, look, I found hours and hours of incredible
fucking moon.
Yeah. They probably, it feels like maybe possibly, and I haven't read the story, I'm talking out of my ass, but like, it feels almost like they didn't know or they didn't think they had it or that nobody thought much of the footage at all. Like when they stored it off somewhere, like they didn't think, I mean, everybody's got what they need. They see what they need to see. They didn't think any of the other stuff was interesting.
Yeah.
But then when you finally go back and look at it, maybe it takes 50 years. You're just like,
wow.
Yeah, this is incredible. Yeah.
This is, to your knowledge, this is like previously unseen by anybody except for NASA.
Yeah, it's definitely previously unseen.
And it's all official archival footage. It's not, they didn't shoot anything new for this or audio. They just matched it all
in
up.
fact, they had a rule about not using any other media that they didn't find on their own,
really?
or didn't happen on that day. Or that in those couple of days. They had a rule, but they broke the rule once for something, and I can't remember what it was. It was some sort of footage that they needed to put in there
to put the dots together.
Yeah. So
did this get a wide release?
No.
Did this get any release?
I mean, I think it did, but I don't remember what kind of release it had. I just picked it up. This is one of those picked it up on a whim type of things going to Best Buy.
Oh, yeah.
And, I was like, Apollo 11, what was that?
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't like...
It could really be anything,
It
right?
really could be, because we have Apollo 18 out there. And I looked at it, and I was like, oh, this is like actual documentary footage? Okay, put that in the cart.
It could technically have been a Rocky movie.
Yeah, it could have. It could have. I mean, once Creed gets into the 11s,
Creed 5.
Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah, yes. The next time we saw Jeremy, he was smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
That he lit with the Superman Action Comics #1.
Yes.
You'd be buying everybody like dinner at the cafe. Like, have another one. It's 15,000. It's a Hyundai.
Yeah.
It's a Hyundai.
By the way, after that Seinfeld binge, I don't think I've watched it since.
Oh, really?
Hey, did you know that, was it TBS isn't going to have TBS isn't going to have Seinfeld anymore, and it's going to be on Netflix?
I heard that it was going to be on Netflix, so they're not going to. Is that going
That's
to be
like
the
in
sole
2022 or something, though.
It's like a year and a half, 2 years away.
So they've got a different deal, obviously, than Friends, because Friends is everywhere, but also Netflix.
They're now starting to make more exclusive deals now that all these other streaming services are cropping up. And so I didn't hear the part about TBS not showing it anymore, but that doesn't surprise me because I did hear that Netflix threw like an ungodly amount of money at Seinfeld that they can never earn back, but they needed to have at least one top 5 all-time show in order to compete with. Anyway, we're going to talk more about streaming services.
Are they going to lose Frasier?
I don't know about Frasier. They're losing Friends for sure.
But they should probably be. They're losing The Office too, right? For the NBC,
I think so.
Streaming thing.
I think so.
Well, I don't know. See, it's all going to depend on the production company that made the show, not what channel it originally aired on.
Well, yeah, I think The Office is clearly a Universal Comcast show, so that will go to the NBC service.
Okay.
I have heard The Office is leaving.
Yes.
But I don't know when. A lot of this stuff happens like in a year from now or something.
But see, Friends is leaving Netflix not because of NBC, but because of Warner Brothers.
Where's it going? Oh, is it going
to Warner Brothers streaming service or whatever the fuck they're going to call that shit?
Are you serious? I thought it was NBC. Really?
Maybe. I don't fucking know.
No. I mean, that it's totally possible. I didn't think about where it would land.
Well, Warner Brothers produced that show, so they have the rights. So whenever Friends goes anywhere, Warner Brothers.
Wow. I wonder
signs
if
that document.
The Office is leaving at the end of 2020.
Yikes. At the end of 2020.
Yeah.
Get plenty of time.
Friends is leaving in 2020. I don't know what the
I never really thought about where it would land. I just assumed it was going to be NBC. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's no real reason for it to be.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're also going to be taking it off of Nick at Night and like fucking TBS or all the other channels that Friends are.
I don't know. I don't get it. If those pre-existing deals run for 10 more years, they can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Nick at Night can play it as long as they want.
That's true.
And starting in October 2021, repeats of Seinfeld will leave TBS, and Viacom has it. Comedy Central, Paramount Network, TV Land, and Pop TV. And then Netflix will be Seinfeld's exclusive streaming home in 2021.
Okay.
So Paramount Network already runs Friends reruns occasionally, and that's probably because they own the show. So it's not leaving TBS because of the Netflix deal. It's leaving TBS because Paramount wants to run it on its own networks.
God damn.
Yeah, it's going to be a minefield.
Think about how much
years.
money is fucking involved in all of this stuff that we just talked about.
The cast of Friends makes about $20 million a year just today. Just
Are you
from
serious?
Yeah, just from residuals and royalties. It's absurd. It's also like the most popular show in Europe for some weird reason.
What would you do? This is like the post-scarcity thing that we were talking about with Andy Weir. Like, what would you do with $20 million?
Yeah,
every year?
I'd be like Matt LeBlanc and not do anything.
There you go. He's probably worked more than most of them. Though.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just taking a cheap shot at Matt LeBlanc.
Well, he hasn't been. It's like
he hasn't been anything like
he
hasn't been anything that we've seen in a while. But you know, if you're making all that money,
I guess Jennifer Aniston's probably worked the most since Friends.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston's like in every movie now.
Yeah, she is.
I
don't mind.
She's probably got like 100 credits at this point.
And she's going to be in that Apple show, too.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to get that and watch it and tell me if it's good, because I'm not going to plunge.
No. Schwimmer did that OJ thing.
Yeah.
And like animated stuff.
Yeah.
But nobody really has to work. They're just like basically, come to me with something that I dig, and I'll do it. Courtney Cox hasn't done anything recently.
When was the last time you saw Matthew Perry do anything?
That's a shame, because going back and watching, he's totally the best part of Friends.
He's the funniest, I think, performer.
Absolutely, yes.
He gets 90% of the material that we look back on and cringe at, though. Like, he gets all the jokes about not wanting to be seen as gay, and we need to get ESPN because I like those flowers, all the other bullshit that he does. Anyway.
That's true. Because Schwimmer has the physical comedy, and Tribbiani, Matt LeBlanc, has some decent lines just from him being dumb. But Chandler has like the combination of both of those. And Phoebe's really the only funny girl on the Friends, right?
Yeah.
That's written to be funny.
She's written to be funny.
At first, Rachel is supposed to be like, she's like the main source of the comedy with the women. At first, they haven't really gotten Phoebe written in yet. Phoebe really starts taking stride like towards the end of the first, beginning of the second. But remember, Rachel was like always this, like, I don't know if it continues throughout the entire run.
No, she had quips. She had actual quips written into it.
But she was always the bumbling, couldn't get the job done waitress and all that. I don't know if they continued that throughout, but like...
No, she becomes a very successful fashion buyer by the end of the show.
Yeah.
But the first season, she's the rich girl who has to cut up daddy's credit cards and doesn't know how to live in the real world. And she's a shitty waitress because she's daddy's little rich girl.
Yeah, she's just left dude at the altar. Barry and all that. There's all these different like things that that made her she was the comic focus of the women, And then everything involving Courtney Cox was like her mom.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. But
Yeah. Do you remember the thing with the guy, the restaurant owner that was hiring her to be the chef, but like immediately started
Being dirty?
Being dirty?
That's Lowell. Lowell? He's on Frasier. He's a recurring character on Frasier who
That
has a crush.
character?
That actor.
Oh, okay.
Who has a crush on Roz. And he's always like, oh, hey, Roz, when do we go to dinner, Roz?
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And in this one, he's like, is the lettuce dirty? Yeah. Oh, no, I'm going to clean it. No, don't clean it. I like it dirty.
well, who did John Lovitz play? Lovitz played somebody.
He was on 2 episodes playing the same guy, actually, and he plays a restaurateur who's looking to hire Monica, but he shows up stoned.
Right.
And so she's like, here, I made this amuse-bouche, and he's like, boom, 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 and eats it all. That was good. He goes to the kitchen, he's like, crackers.
Whenever I go to a big city, like the most rewarding thing that I can do is just walk around to the sites, use the public transit and stuff like that, hang out in the open spaces and stuff like that, especially in this time of year where it's going to be nice and cool and everything. Going to go down the Seine River, a little tour, and basically do tourist stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, is the Louvre on there on the list?
No.
Eiffel Tower?
Eiffel Tower, definitely.
Gusteau's?
Yes, Gusteau's. Well, I'm going to eat the fuck out of Paris.
You better eat the fuck out of Paris.
Oh, my God. We're staying like right in the middle, fairly close to the Eiffel Tower.
Well, every hotel room and apartment in Paris has a view of the Eiffel Tower.
I think ours does, actually.
Every single one.
Yes.
I would still highly recommend going to the Louvre.
Whereas I would recommend going to the Louvre.
Louvre?
Mm-hmm.
What should I go to, Notre Dame or Notre Dame?
What is it?
It's half gone now,
Lionel
right?
Hutt says something like, I have the degrees from the Sorbonne, the Harvard, the Louvre.
Have you been to Paris?
Yeah.
You went to the Louvre?
1995, yes. Went to Louvre. I went to Eiffel Tower. I wish I was a foodie back then. I was not. So
Yeah.
I did not taste the food of Paris, really. I did, but not to the point of like, I can't wait to get to this.
I'm going to get some escargot, baby.
Yeah?
First night. First night is my birthday.
Why escargot? Is that a Paris staple?
Oh, yeah.
It is?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like, okay. All right. I
That's-
didn't know that.
Yeah. What's funny is that you think it's a tourist thing, but French onion soup or soupe l'oignon is like the quintessential Parisian dish. So I'm going to get a bunch of that shit, too.
That's one of those weird... America needs to figure the fuck out of that dish because I've had it a number of times, and it's either terrible or awesome.
Yep. There is no in-between for French onion soup.
No, and I don't understand that. I bet in Paris it's all awesome.
Yeah.
But in the U.S., it's like, I'm going to stop ordering that. The last one I had tasted like diaper.
Yeah, Panera. God.